What about the story that you presented in America?
Oh, sorry. I do a lot of different stories recited. One is the story that I recited was this is it's a philosophical kind of a story. This is about a very genius person who lived in a neighborhood. He is a priest, and the king heard a lot of different things about this priest. And then one time the king was afraid of this priest, and he called him up. He called him up and said he wants to kill him because he was afraid of him. And then he said, he called him up, he got into the palace, the king was sitting there. Here the man came with his horse, the priest came with his horse, and then got off from the horse, and he put his horse aside, and he stood in front of the king, and the king told him that, you know, I will give you 3 questions. You will come with the answers after 3 days. I give you 3 days, and this is the question, he said. Okay, he said, what's the question? And the question is, if I go day and night, where would I find the end of the earth? If I go day and night, where would I find the end of the earth? Like if you start from the east all the way to the west, and then whatever, where will I find the end of the earth? The man was shocked because this is like, you cannot be able to answer such a question. And then, okay. The second question is, what do I think? It's so hard to know what you think, you know. What do I think? The third one is, you see these ministers behind me? They want to sell me. How much do I cost? Well, the person got disappointed. He heard the questions, but he didn't think that he's going to answer them, though, so he went back, waiting for 3 days, and then to come back and to get killed, because he was not bothered to, you know, to answer these questions, because he doesn't know the answer for these questions. And then finally, he said, okay, I have to just sleep, spend 3 days, and have to go back without not thinking of these questions. So 3 days filled up, and then now he was going to back to the king to get killed, to be, you know, to be questioned. And then there he came. The king was waiting for him. All his ministers were behind him. They were cheering him up. Oh, the man came. No, he was. I mean, they were prepared to, you know, to come that priest.
Welcome him.
Yeah, but in that region there was another man who looks like the priest. He looks in everything, his weight, his length, and his
dress code.
Everything looks like him. The only difference between the real priest and the other one was, the priest has a turban in his head. This doesn't have. So the man was disappointed, and he was walking to the palace, and then he saw him. He knows the priest. Priest, what's wrong with you? He says, no, you know, the king, we've heard that, you know, the king asked you a question, and then are you prepared for that question? He said, no, I'm not prepared, I don't know them, so I have to go and get killed. And the man said, why don't you just tell me if I want to, you know, if I may answer these questions? He said, no, you cannot answer these questions. They are very difficult questions. Okay, what are they? You know, and he really kept, you know, asking him. You say, why not I just tell him and go? He said, okay, you know, the king asked me that, where is the end of
The earth.
The earth. The first question. The end of the earth. Okay? What's the second question? The second question is, what do I think? The third question is, you see all these ministers behind me, they want to sell me. How much would I cost? Okay? Take your clothes off. Get off the horse. He got him off from the horse, and he told him to take off his clothes. Took his clothes, the priest. The old man gave him his clothes. They shaved the clothes. He put the turban on him. He sat on the horse, and he was riding like crazy. And then the palace door was opened, and the man was flying on his horse, and then he got right in front of the king. The king was so amazed. The same person. No slight difference between those two, between the priest, between him and the priest. And then, are you ready for the questions? He said, if you may repeat the questions respectfully. Okay. The first question was, what is the end of
the earth?
The earth. Okay. The second question is, what do I think? The third one is, all these ministers behind me want to sell me. How much would I cost? Yeah, just, I know the questions, but I just want you to refresh me the questions. That's why I asked, he said. And then he said, ready? Yeah. Where would I find the earth? Where is the end of the earth? Sir, he said, if you start your journey from where the sun rises, and if you go all the way down to where the sun sets, you'll find the end of the earth. And then you come back to the east. That is the whole...
Another question.
That's the whole circulation, it's the end of earth. That's
sure, it's logical.
You know, the sun takes 12 hours to set, and then to come to one day, to complete the whole rotation, it's a day worth, 24 hours. So if you can walk, that is the end of the earth. He couldn't believe that he's going to come up with this. Even himself wouldn't even would never
told this.
Never expected to hear such an answer. He doesn't even know the answer. And then the king was so astonished, he was almost going to get up. He couldn't believe it. He was so amazingly excited. And then the second question was, what do I think? He just brought the third question and said, what do you think? All these ministers behind me, they want to sell me. Christ costed, how much was Christ costed? 129? They were selling Christ for 29 cents, whatever. Christ costed that much amount. You are lesser than the God, so you will cost 25. And then he just got like this. What do I think? He was asking him. He thought that he was a priest, but I'm not a priest. And then the king says that you are not really a priest. You are a God-given man. Go, give him the gold. He got the gold and he went back. And then he found that man. Take your gold. He said, no, that is yours. He said, take your gold. You are a poor man. You have to take the gold. He said, I love my poorness. Take this. This is yours. God didn't give me. It's for you. It's second. And then the man was so amazed because of his answers. And then so it has different parts like this.
That's okay. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
What's music for you?
Music is like, from my perspective, actually. Music for me is life. Yeah, now probably you and I, and for you and I, we are playing music. Because you were asking me questions that who I was, where I was going, where I ended up. Finally, I ended up with you. This is a story. This is a music by itself. You know, I've been telling you about all these beautiful stories that came out of a
How
human.
can be said it's a music? Music needs melody, lyric, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But
we can change it into rhythm and
yes,
we can put it
rhythmically.
pattern.
Yeah. Oh, this. Oh my God! And all these expressions are musical.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking about melodies. You know, there are certain defined melodies, and there are undefined melodies that comes between our conversation. There are so many melodies. You know, when the birds, you know, people think that birds sing. People think that birds cry or, you know, making noise, but they are singing. The words that comes from you is a singing, because you don't know those melodies. They don't come out like other melodies, like da, 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 like this, you know, if they're not melodies coming out. But when the voice comes through here and vibrate here, that is where the song comes out first. You know, a defined melody is because you learn those defined melodies. You're always waiting for those melodies to be heard. But there are certain melodies that bring an amazing feeling to yourself. So to me, is music aside, like to me, to see the landscape, the water, the rivers, the birds, you know, the plants, the animals, you know, making all these rhythms is a music. And also the other thing about music is a bit our social life. Our social life by itself is a music. Like a child can sing at the house, the father sings, and mother dances, and everybody, you know, got together and expressed their feelings through music. And all these kind of things are, you know, music to me. So music is a feeling that comes out of yourself, is the music that really tells who you are, and listen to the other person, who he is, and get the whole composed life of plants and animals, even human beings. So it's so intricate, and it's a very massive description for it.
Okay, you're a really musical genius, and you do have your own unique flavor and taste in music. Most of the time you just use Ethiopian folklores. You inculcate all the tradition and custom traditions in your music. How did you, develop that?
I developed that, as I mentioned earlier, you know, when we were talking about, I learned this music from my father. My father was a great crowd player. Before he was playing before he plays the crowd, he always tells me a story. You know, he tells me stories, and these stories, you know, combined with his music and with his philosophy, with his own, you know, feelings, and then I start listening all these different ideas brought together and composed as a music. So I grew up listening this, and also I grew up, you know, when you grow up in artists, like you hear so many different kinds of music, Orominya, Marinya, Pinya, all the neighbors together, everybody loves, you know, during festivals, you hear Amarinya, Orominya, Tigrinya, everywhere in festivals and things like that. So that also gave me a good foundation to really listen to all different kinds of, you know, music in Ethiopia. I get involved in learning, you know, like Orominya, Amarinya, Tigrinya, to listen to them and to play them. And finally also learn more about the history of the people, the culture behind them, the philosophy, the literature, the drama that we grew up with, all these kind of things. It's like, you know, throwing yourself in an ocean, in a big ocean, trying to swim and cross that. It takes you a long time, you know, measuring the depths of that ocean, the lengths of that ocean. So I get into this kind of an amazing philosophy of music for me. It's an infinite way to think and find means to the music. Still, I'm looking for another outlet, what music is all about. So to me, music is something that brings a wonderful sensation to your life, and understanding others from their feelings. Sometimes people don't read feelings. Let me give you one example. A friend of my friend's mother, she came to the state, and she grew up and grew up in Arat Kilo. And then her son is a painter. He's a very famous painter. You might have heard of him. His name is Wasani Khosrow. He's a great painter. And then he and I lived together in Vermont. And then, so Warke came, his mother. No black people there. She's an old Ethiopian woman. She doesn't speak English. So Wasani has to go to work, and I have to go to school too. And Warke stays at home. And sometimes she goes to supermarket by herself. So what does Warke do is, she goes and say at supermarket, everybody looks at her, she's a black woman, and they say, she speaks in Amharic, she bows a little bit, and she goes to the cashiers, they will show her the amount, and she pays. Everybody loves her. Oh, Miss Warke, everybody knew her in Vermont. Everybody knew her. And then, one time, Wasani wants to take his mother to an American woman, a white woman, American woman. Her name is Atma. He wants his mother to stay with her for a couple of days. Now, this white woman and Wazaro Warke, they were talking. The woman asks, Miss Warke is answering. They were talking for 3 days. And then he and I left to New York. I had a concert. We stayed 3 days in New York, and we came back. And then we went to Miss Atma's house to bring Warke's. And then Atma said, oh my God, I have to tell you this story. What? Warke has been telling me all different kind of stories, she said. Warke doesn't know English. How come? You know what she said? The woman, she always plant flowers. She's a beautiful white woman with a long hair. She's an American Indian breed, actually. She's a white and American Indian breed. Beautiful woman. And she always stays with nature. She plants herbs and flowers, and the woman she looks so flowery. She's so clean. You know what? She said, Warke was sitting in front of me. We were planting flowers and trees, and planting trees and then flowers and seeds and herbs and stuff like that. She was telling me so many stories about herself, about her kids, about her husband. What did she say? She said she has 4 kids. One is something, one is Wasani, one is there. And the father was an army, and the whole thing. It was a true story.
Yeah.
And then how did you learn this? He said, I was looking her eyes when she was telling me the story. I was looking in her eyes, and then I got all the answers. She said, "Nagar baini gabal." Sure. In our country, we say things will get
through your eyes.
Through your eyes. Because this is one of the biggest mirror that you can be able to reflect things, that I couldn't believe. She told us the whole real story. And that's why, the reason that I want to bring this. And the feeling, you bring a feeling, If the music doesn't really bring a feeling, it's not. Like you remember some of the songs that you grew up with, you always remember them. Sure. Because they left so much things, to your life. Still you remember them. Sure. When your father was doing the ragada or dancing or doing things, you see your mother, you see all your friends, all these things, they brought back memories to your mind and to your soul. So that's why music has to bring an amazing change, an amazing feeling to your soul.
Good. What is the role of artists in nation building?
Well, in nation building, I think, you see now, the Westerners, they make so much business on music, That's how actually they build. I mean, one of the biggest money-making business in America is the music. Hear the movie, hear the music, like billions and billions of dollars they make out of it. But amazingly, they don't have a music culture. It was just being educating, you know, music. They don't have it like an Africans that really comes out from themselves, you know. For a nation building, I think we have so much to give to the world, but we didn't work on it. We didn't build any institutions, you know. Our music, our literature, our who we are wasn't really growing, expanding, entertained, and give it away to the people, except taking, you know, foreigners' culture and stuff like that. We never gave away, we never introduced, we never build the capacity of our dynamic in terms of religion, in terms of language, in terms of music, literature, what you name it, philosophy. We have so much, but we didn't introduce it to the world. So for a nation building, I think we have to stand firm on our own culture, you know, believe on our culture, believe on who we are. This is a great nation who has so much to give to the world, but we never used it. We never put it on a market. We never introduced it as some other countries do. So I think for nation building, what we have to do is we have to invest this beautiful Ethiopians in many different ways.
Okay, what is your commentary on newly emerging Ethiopian musicians who do copycat and paste of foreign styles and foreign dances, whatever?
That's a good question. Well, I think what did we do, me and you, for our little brothers? Do you ever ask your brother and say, hey, you are singing the music, right? What is that? How did you get it? What can I help you? Do you want me to take you to a music school, to art school? Have you ever asked him like this? Have you ever bothered listening to his feelings and give him talking like this? My fingers were, because the mommy was here. This is like 4,000, 5,000 years. Mommy was next to me. In my music, in the mommy, I don't know what brought the spirit. My finger was like vibrating like a string, like the cry, it was vibrating. And then at the end of the show, I sweat. And then a long, tall, white woman came to me, and then she said, can I see your fingers? And then I showed her my fingers. She touched it like this, and then she touched everything. She said, it's so beautiful. And then she said, you know what? It's beautiful, but I've never seen a finger vibrates like a string. How does it happen? She said, I don't know, maybe that spirit.
Okay. Who's your favorite African singer?
My favorite African singer?
I do have my own reason why I asked you this question.
Okay. Maybe you are thinking of Salif Keita?
Not really.
Ali Farka Toure. Salif Keita. All these are my friends. We played together.
He play, his own musical, traditional musical instrument so nicely.
Yeah.
You do cry.
I did.
And you guys got same,
we played together. We have a CD actually. I'll give it to you.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of
Ali Farka Toure,
and Omo Sangare as well.
Omo Sangare, I played with her too.
Sure.
Yeah.
And you do have a same personality with that of Ali Farka Toure.
Thank you.
Anyway, dear viewers, thank you for watching. This brings you the end of our edition for today. Hope you had an amazing time with us. Enjoy the rest of our program. Bye-bye.